Hi everyone and welcome back to my garden. This month I said I would try sowing some flowers from seed as I really don't have a whole lot of experience doing that and I would like to be more confident in doing it. I bought these white cosmos and did a seed tray and put them on the windowsill to see how they would get on. The pots at the front door are growing so fast at the moment. I feel like if I look away for even a moment that they've changed. I retired our bulb lasagna pots from early spring and put in some sweet peas as my fiance did them last year and they were actually a really nice addition to the doorway. I bought these perennial foxgloves last year and even though they are perennial, I just thought they weren't going to flower again because foxgloves are usually biennials. So it was actually really nice to see them come back again. As you saw in my last video, which I'll put a link to in the box below, the wisteria was starting to flower and we got a pretty decent show for its first year in my opinion. I saw in Gardener's World a couple of weeks ago a woman who had the most lush looking wisteria and she said that she actually pruned it 3 times a year in August, November and February. I'm thinking about trying that possibly as they just grow so much in between being pruned. But let me know if you have any wisteria tips or tricks for me. There's so many insects in the garden at the moment and it gives me a lot of joy. The main point of this garden was to help wildlife, so seeing insects in it just confirms for me that I did the right thing digging up the lawn and turning the garden into what it is now. I've been thinking about the back garden a lot and spotted this unusual hydrangea in the garden centre, which I didn't buy, but I've been thinking about since. The saga of the drainage issue continues. After digging a drain last month and leaving everything settle, I thought I would start planting the back garden, only to dig a hole and find about 2 inches of water at the bottom of it. I dug another hole further out in the bed as the drainage problem is the worst where the garden meets the patio and it was not as wet, so I don't think the drain has worked as we had hoped, which is disappointing. We'll have to think of something else. I've gotten a lot of inspiration from my surroundings recently. I saw this variety of cow parsley that I love the look of and this Wilija bush in my parents' garden. And my local walkway is also super lush at the moment with wildflowers and I discovered a new wildflower to me which is Viper's Bugloss, which is absolutely stunning when you see it amongst all these daisies. I had a visit from a pair of bullfinches. Those weeds I left grow last month are the same weeds that they feed on now and it's wonderful to see that if you do leave space for wildlife it will actually come. These two were just so stunning to watch and I love how they spit out the little fluff from the seed heads. think it's time to call it a day for my poor salvias. Not one of them that I planted last year. Both the Amistads and Caradonas have come back. In other news though, I went to Mallow Garden Festival this year and got a few plants I'm excited about. First is these unusual Monardas. I also got this very pretty Rodgersia called Chocolate Wings. It likes wet and shade, so I'm hoping it'll do well in the back garden. I also got these Candelabra Primulas, as they also like wet and shade, and the colour is just so eye-catching on these. I found the same Willigia that I was admiring in my parents' garden in the garden centre, so I got one of those too. And lastly, by pure chance, I also came across that cow parsley I have been admiring so much, so I also got some of them. There are some things that are really doing a belter in the garden at the moment, like this lady's mantle, which has gotten huge. However, some things aren't doing great. I know I said in my previous video, I think, that I thought the lavender was coming back, but I think they're past their best, unfortunately. We had a surprise visitor in the form of a hummingbird hawk moth. I actually saw one of these in the garden last year, so I knew what it was when I spotted it, but they're just so fascinating to watch. They just dart around the place drinking nectar out of flowers, and they're just really interesting. My cosmos started to grow, which was very exciting for me, and I also got some plants from Farmer Gracie, which I potted up. They are a little bit hit and miss, to be honest. Like, I ordered some astrantias because I haven't come across them anywhere locally, but of the 6 that I ordered, only 2 had any shoots that grew into a plant. They are quite cheap for plants though, so if you're willing to put some time in and also just take a chance that some stuff won't work out, then they're probably worth a try. After speaking to my dad about the drainage issue in the back garden, he said we better dig up the soil from it again so we can see what's actually going on. So that's what I did. As you can see, there's just water sitting on top of the drain, and my dad said he'd try drilling some holes into the ground below the drain to see if that would release any of the water. Our No Mow summer lawn is bringing some pretty visitors to the garden, which is lovely to see. We had a scorcher of a weekend on the bank holiday, so I managed to get loads of planting done to fill in some gaps in the border, which meant saying goodbye to the lavenders and instead putting in some, I think these are called EK bells, for some ground cover. of books for a bit of structure, some more salvias, we'll see if any of them make it through to next year, some armerias that my mum didn't have a place for, some oxeye daisies inspired by our local walkway, and the monardas that I bought at Mallow. Some creeping thyme for ground cover, and this salvia, I can't say the name properly, sorry, I'm just gonna have to put the text here. And an aster, I think this one is called Monk, for some late summer colour. There's a real feeling of being on the precipice of lushness, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what happens in the garden over the next couple of months. The plants at the front door have totally shot up. The tomatoes are flowering, and as they are very greedy plants, I'm feeding them once a week. The jasmine has also started flowering, and it's really lovely to catch the scent when going in and out of the house. After a few days, the water in the drain did clear, but I don't know, is this because of the holes we drilled or evaporation, or I don't know. So I don't really know how it will drain under a lot of rainfall. I've been toying around with the idea of maybe making a water feature out of it, but I'm still unsure. The shed has been looking a bit worse for wear, so we decided that it was time for a makeover. And in some final good news for this video, the potatoes we planted for the crack last month have actually started to come up, so we'll have chips before we know it. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next month.